few hours later, and the community, and all of America, it seemed, wanted revenge. Crowds descended on New Jersey to hunt the shark.
They set up bounty rewards for sharks. They used dynamite and took old spears and pitchforks and rifles and other weapons to try to hunt the shark.
That clip is courtesy of CBS Sunday Morning. Now I know what you're thinking. You've probably already busted out your trusty map and determined that, although it's possible, the distance between the Atlantic and Turners Falls, Massachusetts is roughly 100 to 115 river miles. Well, surely that distance is too great for a bull shark to manage. Well, what if I told you that it's not?
Most people would never expect to find sharks over here in the Hillsborough River, but experts at the Florida Aquarium say it might be far more common than you'd think.
Oh my God, my baby caught a shark.
Sharks found in the Hillsborough River. This group fishing 4 baby bull sharks out of there just days ago. Cassie and Nikki Blanco delighted their son could see a shark up close.
Really risky.
However, Alex Morris, who is with the group and fishes almost daily, was far from surprised.
They get about 7 foot out here.
He says he sees them about this time every year.
They're everywhere in here. Hundreds of baby bull sharks and blacktips are in the Hillsborough River.
I do not see why they would go all the way up here.
Resident shark expert Eric Hovland with the Florida Aquarium says bull sharks can live in fresh water and have been spotted as far north as Illinois.
We can find out that we have sharks in our own backyards and maybe in our front yards if you live on the river.
He says bull sharks like these come into the Hillsborough River to have their pups.
Bull sharks are traveling sharks.
And says be cautious, but don't worry too much. He says a shark bite from these guys would be rare.
That clip comes to us from WFTS ABC Action News out of Tampa, Florida. And yes, you heard that correctly. Bull sharks have been caught as far north as Illinois, but they've also washed up in places like Iowa, Ohio, and even parts of the Great Lakes. And I've linked to a photo of a bull shark caught in Alton, Illinois, back in 1937. It's over in the show notes if you want to check it out. Now, as scary as all this sounds, and as dangerous as these amazing creatures actually are, those inland have very little to worry about these days. You see, dams have made it near impossible for these creatures to make it beyond them. Waterways that were clear 100 years ago are not so much now. But to wrap up Devon's sighting, I've spent hours down this rabbit hole, and frankly, at this point, I'm a little concerned there might be a bull shark down here. Check out this last little fact. As far as I could tell, the first significant dam a traveling bull shark would encounter, on its way up the Connecticut River, would be below the very dam on which Devon had his experience. I don't know if that solves this mystery, but I like my pony in this race, as terrifying as that is to admit. So thank you again, Devon. I had a lot of fun with this one. Okay, I wasn't kidding when I said I spent hours researching bull shark migration and so forth. So now we need to kick this thing into top gear. Luckily, this is where synchronicity seems to take over. You see, each Monday morning, I try to process as many new calls as possible. I download them, listen to most if not all of the call, and I have a naming convention and a filing system that I then sort them into. I usually get through maybe 15 to 20 before I have to start compiling this week's show. This week was no different, except for the fact that of the 12 or so calls that I processed, most had some strange correlation with the call prior, and in some cases, after. Let me give you an example. This was one of the first calls I listened to, and it's from a big supporter of the show. Please welcome David from Massachusetts back to the program.
Hello, Derek, Addie, and friends. My name is David, and I live just west of Boston, Mass. I'm pretty sure it was in the late spring of 2014 that I had a memorable moment while doing some work in my yard one day. I was chopping up an old dead tree with an axe when all of a sudden came a little breeze, just the kind of breeze to make the trees sway ever so slightly. That's when I heard my name. David. I was sure someone had just walked into my yard and was calling my name. There was no one there. Then I realized it came from a tall oak tree about 50 feet away from where I was using my axe. I got so freaked out, I went back into my house. Was it just my imagination, or was the oak tree saying my name? I wish I could tell you. I just wanted to share this with everyone because I wonder if anyone else has ever had a tree talk to them. Thanks, Derek and Addie, for everything you do. Monsters Among Us rocks.
Thank you, David, for your submission. Now, this was the very next call that I played. This one from Wes in the state of Michigan.
Hi, this is Wes from Michigan. I had a story about, I was younger, I was about 10, and I was with my cousin at the time. We were at my grandma's house, and how her property was, it was woods, then there was like a swamp in between, in the middle of their property, and then more woods. Well, one day, it was a nice summer day, nice and sunny. We crossed the swamp to go to the other side of the property in the woods. As soon as we got out of the swamp and entered the wood line, I started getting kind of like a cold, chilly feeling, and it felt like something was watching me. And I said something to my cousin, he agreed that he felt the same way. So we just shrugged it off and kept walking through the woods. Well, we ended up finding a dry riverbed, not very big, about the size of just a small creek. This riverbed kind of just ran right down the middle of the property, so we just started walking it, just talking, and we came to a tree. I don't know how to really describe the tree, but as soon as I looked at it, I had a wave of dread coming over me. My cousin looks at me, he goes, "Hey, I want to go back to the house. I don't want to be here anymore." Well, I agreed. Well, as we were walking back down the riverbed away from the tree, my cousin stopped and said that he heard someone yell at him. We didn't think much about it, but a couple steps later, we noticed that there was some dirt disturbed where we didn't walk. So we kind of just walked up, took a quick glance on it, and there was items on the ground. And on these items, it appeared to be what they used to use to like kind of shift for gold, that little strainer, but there was like a lantern there, coffee cup. The lantern actually had a date, 1898. So we just thought that was really odd, and we didn't know how it was connected to the tree. So we took the lantern, because it had the date, and walked back across the swamp and went to the other woods where we had our fort right outside my grandma's house. Well, we set the lantern next to the fort and went inside. The next weekend, we went back out, and the lantern was gone. And we thought, oh, maybe my grandpa and grandma or one of the other cousins picked it up. So we went and asked my grandpa. He said no, and so we told him about the tree and where we found everything, and he wanted to go see it. We went back out there, and we found the tree. The same thing happened. Fear, dread, horror just coming over us. And even my grandpa was getting uneasy. Well, he asked, he goes, "Hey, where'd you find that lantern stuff at?" And we're like, "Over here." And to our surprise, right where we were at, where the disturbed ground was, the lantern was laying next to the disturbed dirt. I don't know if it was paranormal or just us going crazy, but that's always kind of stuck with me, and it's the first time I've ever talked to anyone about it. Like, even me and my cousin don't even talk about it anymore. It just makes us uneasy. I just wanted to call and give you my story. Big fan of the show, and keep up the great work. Bye.
And thank you, Wes. That was weird, right? I almost never receive stories about trees, especially not back to back. But get this, it gets weirder. Of those 12 or so stories I pulled, 2 were also about UFOs. And again, both were eerily similar. To kick off this strange pairing, we send it over to Christina from the state of Florida.
Hey Derek, this is Christina, and I am a Patreon subscriber. Just thought I'd let you know. This is a UFO sighting. I'm originally from Northwest Florida, so near Eglin Air Force Base, about 30 miles away, maybe less. But I would sit at night and sit on a swing my dad had made us in the backyard. It was probably about 20 feet from the back door. Not too far, but far enough where it was dark out there. But I would swing at night listening to my headphones or my tape player or CD player or whatever I had back then. This was in the 90s for sure. I was in middle school or high school. And I was sitting on the swing one night and just gazing up at the stars like I did every night. I spent every night on that swing, singing, listening to music. So I was looking up and I saw something in the sky, super far off, like just a dot, like not anything hovering over like other people have seen, but just a dot up in the sky. And all of a sudden I started to see it zip. It would zip to the right, zip to the left, and it was just zip, zip, zip. And I thought, well, that's strange. I've never seen a star or anything else, a regular plane do that, helicopter, even a military plane, because I'm from a military family and am in the military. So, but anyway, so I saw this thing zipping back and forth, and I sat and looked at it for maybe 30 seconds. And I thought this to myself. I thought, holy crap, maybe this is a UFO. And as soon as I thought the words out in my brain, UFO, it descended down toward Earth. It started descending down. It would go down. 2 seconds away, it would come down. 2 seconds away, it would come down. Well, this is still like miles up, but I could see it coming and just ever so slightly getting bigger, coming down. And I thought, well, that's not normal. So, and I was into all the UFO and cryptids and everything when I was young. Anyway, ghosts, anything haunted show. So, of course, my mind's like, well, they're coming to get me. So, because I saw them. So I just totally did like somersault, Olympic, shot myself off the swing, landed on my feet, and ran inside with my Walkman. So anyway, that's my first UFO story. My second one, it happened last year. Me and my husband had a business, and we had a truck, and we would ride in. I would ride with him a few days a week. Anyway, there's an airport near, and this is in Atlanta, a clear day, and there was a little airport that's close to where we live. This is off of 316, going to 85, headed towards Norcross. If anybody's listening knows where that is. So basically you're headed from Athens to Norcross to Atlanta area. Anyway, so we're passing this airport, and we're both talking to each other, looking over there because the plane had just landed. And we were sitting in traffic, of course, it's Atlanta. And all of a sudden, this bright light, like flash of light, happens from like behind a hangar, and we see something just like go up in the air. It is huge. Well, I say huge. I don't know. It was big. Big of a car maybe. And it just went straight up in the air. It was brightly lit the whole time, and it shot up in like seconds. And my husband, we both looked at each other, and we were like, holy crap, what was that? I said, obviously it's a UFO. But it was broad daylight. So also, clear day. It was in the summer. That was super weird. I don't know what they had over there. It didn't make a noise. There was no noise. Not that we could hear. There was no like huge boom, or nothing blew up and like shot up in the sky, or was like a gas truck that, shot up in the sky and something came down. It's unexplainable, really, what we saw. The bright flash of light, something going up. There was smoke and lights, and then that was it. I looked up in the air, and it was just like this trail of dust or gas, or I don't know what it was. I'm not a scientist. But anyway, that was interesting. And that's my only 2 UFO stories. All right. Thanks a lot, Derek. I love your podcast. Have a good day. Bye.
Thank you, Christina. And thank you for your support over on Patreon. I'm glad you mentioned that because I almost forgot about announcements. Here, let me just get this out of the way real quick. If you have a call you'd like to share, call the hotline at 1-888-608-NIGHT. That's 1-888-608-6444. And don't forget, we're currently looking for museum workers or workers from historical buildings or gift shops, that kind of thing. And also, hometown legends. So if you have any of those, please submit them as soon as possible so I can get the shows rolling. Follow our social media accounts on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Reddit. And keep the show ad-free by joining our Patreon campaign. $4 a month gets you instant access to over 35 bonus episodes. And you can cancel anytime. And lastly, you can pick up merchandise over at the website at monstersamonguspodcast.com. All right, now that we're back on track, I received the following call only 1 or 2 before Christina's. So you can imagine why this might pique my interest a bit. This one was submitted anonymously from Germany.
Hi, Derek. I'm going to leave my name out of this. I'm a military intelligence officer. I live in Germany. In the summer of 2018, I went to Koblenz, Germany with a group of friends. We went on a gondola ride. We walked along the Rhine River, and I saw a party boat. I wanted to walk on because it was docked. I wanted to walk on, take a look what was going on inside, and then come back out. And this is nighttime, by the way. As I'm walking out, I look up at the sky. It was clear sky, great weather, and I remember thinking to myself, man, those are some really bright stars. Now, mind you, I was a UAV platoon leader in my career field at one point. My buddy who was with me, he's a UAV operator, and my other friend was also in the military. So I'm looking at it, and I'm like, those are really bright stars. That's very interesting. The only way I can describe what happens next is all of a sudden, they started moving irregularly. So like up, down, side to side, extremely fast. Literally look like you're looking at a star, a bright star, and it's just moving crazy in the sky. So I said out loud, can a plane do that? That looks interesting. My buddy, who is a UAV operator, he's like, no, I've never seen anything like that. That's weird. There was another couple that was near us. I think they were German, and they were also looking up at the sky, and we were all just fascinated. I kicked myself because I never pulled out my phone to record because we were just so mesmerized, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I'm fairly certain they weren't airplanes. A, because of the altitude. I mean, I couldn't really gauge from down